Hey guys, I'm your host Smitha and welcome to Journey Podcast, your weekly podcast on transformational journeys. Hello everyone. Today I have a dear guest by name Mim Parisi. She is a boxing and fighter mindset coach. She helps women like herself using their trauma to be strong, successful, feel empowered, and alive. Using boxing, she have been empowering women globally since 2007. I want her to talk about her story in her words, and she has gone through a lot in childhood trauma, being molested, and being going through a sexual abuse or domestic abuse. I'll leave the platform to her to talk about her story, to where she started and what she's doing today, and why is this important to her, and why she chose boxing to be a channel for her to come out of these traumas. Thank you for being on the show. Welcome, Mimi.
Thank you very much for having me. It's
Thank you.
exciting to speak to someone else around the world, so very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, please go ahead and share your story from where you started, how this became your life, and why you are helping other women to come out of these struggles, and what is that you exactly do with them. Please.
Okay. So I have probably lived, first of all, trauma can be seen as lots of different things. A long time ago, people used to say that word trauma for people that would see deaths or go to war or something that people would think, oh, is really severe. But in actual fact, trauma is just some amount of stress that is put on some person that they can't cope with.
Yes.
So some people's trauma can be quite small, insignificant, like compared to other people's. And I deal with those women as well. And those women might sometimes come to me and go, oh, my trauma is so insignificant compared to yours. But that's not where it lies. I'm a big believer you are given, God gives you what you are able to handle. And I was able to handle, obviously, a lot of trauma. So it was given to me. And here I am now sharing my story. So first of all, yes, I do work with women that have been through trauma like myself. The traumas I've been through are quite varied. So I tend to make a connection with a lot of women. Those connections come from shared experiences. Some of those experiences, like you said, for me have been sexual abuse. I was sexually abused from the ages of 7 to 11 by a family member. And then, I've witnessed domestic violence within my family. And then I guess allowed that to creep into my own adult relationships at some point, and then realizing that I was just allowing that chain to flow on and allowing that connection and allowing that hold from my past to continue my future. And I really had to think to myself, well, is this the path I want to take? And is this how I want to demonstrate for my daughters the life that I want them to have? And I really had to practice what I preach, you know what I mean? Like I had to actually put in place the things that I was saying for other people to do, the things that I was doing in my fighting career and boxing. I had to apply that to my everyday life. So I could be a role model for all three of my children.
So when you mentioned you have gone through something bad in your childhood, first off, sorry that you have gone through that. Have you ever shared that with your parents at those ages? Or like, have you ever shared even afterwards to your parents or anybody in your family?
Yes, I didn't share that trauma of the sexual abuse until the perpetrator had passed away. So I actually held on to that information and held it close to me until I think I was 30 years old, so quite older. And I decided not to share that information because I was trying to protect the people around me. Even from such a young age, I knew that by me sharing that information, that maybe my dad, especially at that time when I was younger, he would get really angry and maybe hurt that man and therefore go to jail again. So I was trying to protect the people around me from getting into trouble. So I kind of held it in. I didn't tell anyone, but then, as I said, when he did pass away, something came up and I just felt that I couldn't keep it a secret any longer. The actual story behind that was my family members were asked to carry the coffin out of the church, and I couldn't allow that to happen. It didn't feel right that my brothers and my father would be carrying a coffin out of the church to a man that had done that to me. So it was either allow that to happen and really go against all my boundaries and my core values, or I'm going to have to stand up for myself and say what's true. And I did that. And, I've never really looked back in the sense where it was like a relief.
Mm.
Everything was out in the open and nothing, everyone, my family was so supportive. If anything, they were, why didn't you tell me earlier, etc.
Mm. Mm. So is this person close to your family, a family member or something?
Yes, family member.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
you
that's right.
started your journey from there, and what happened to you in the school while you're at school? You mentioned like, yeah, you have been through a lot of bullying.
Many traumas, yeah. So with that there, as I said, it was kind of laid to rest when he passed away, and it was something that I was at peace with. But as I said, that wasn't until my 30s when I was already had started boxing at that time. So my head was in a different space. My mindset was in a different space. I was really quite strong already to be able to say that and do that. Um, at that time, I was already in a good headspace. I was fighting. My mindset was already getting quite strong, so I was able to do that. But before that time, when I was in my teenage years, I moved from Melbourne, and then we moved further out, closer to the beach. And at that point, there weren't very many Europeans in the area, so I started going to high school here, and I was massively bullied at high school for being what is known to be a wog. Some people don't even know what that word means, which
Mm.
is great. But my daughter, she doesn't even know what it means, which I think is fantastic. That in today's age, they don't even know that word that gave me so much hell when I was a teenager. That word that made me feel so shit, like that word that just was horrible.
Yeah.
And that wasn't that long ago. I'm 38. This was when I was 15. What's that, 15, 17 years ago or something? And now she doesn't even know that word. So we have come a long way. But going back to that time in my life, moving to an area where there were all no Europeans, going to a school and just daily getting bullied and harassed for being European, for being a wog, to the point where people would not just be verbally, they'd be physically abusive with me, and groups getting physically abusive with me and beating me up and stuff.
Mm.
Um, and my after school every day, I would jump in the car and I would be upset, crying and that kind of stuff. And obviously, as a parent, I can feel that pain now, because if it was my child getting in the car
Yes.
like that, I would be devastated. So my parents seeing it day in and day out and again and again and again and not knowing what to do. My father comes from not a violent background, but they look after themselves. They're street smart and that kind of stuff. And he said to him, Mim, he goes, you're going to have to sort it out. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to have to really stand up for yourself. He goes, they're not going to stop unless you stand up for yourself.
Mm.
I said, I do. I tell him. He goes, it's not enough. He goes, you're going to have to beat the fuck
Yeah.
out of the head girl. I
Yeah.
said, what do you mean? I can't do it. He goes, of course you can. He goes, of course you can. You've got Parisi blood in you. You're strong. You're this. And he really revved me up, and he gave me enthusiasm, and he gave me some confidence, and he gave me some like grunt, I guess.
Mm.
And I wasn't not scared, but I had that little bit more confidence to approach this girl the following day. And the following day, I did approach her, and my dad was there because he wanted to make sure I wasn't going to get totally beaten up or attacked. It wasn't going to get out of control. I guess that's why he was there. And he's like, "Go, do it." And I got out of the car and I did it, and I beat her and I hit her, and I don't condone violence. Let me just put that out there now. You know
Right.
what I mean? I absolutely, and I don't condone it even with my children now. However, the moral of the story is it took me being confident and standing up for myself and hitting this girl for the bullying to stop.
Yes.
And it stopped. And then I started to think to myself, well, these people are just gutless. They're really, they have no courage. It's only when they're in a group that they got a big mouth to really
Mm.
put other people down. And I'm like, I can do this. I'm not going to be the victim to their bullying anymore. And things just changed. And again, that thing in my head just changed, and I didn't walk like a victim after that day. I walked with my chest proud. It's not to say that didn't come with its own issues, because it did. So it changed things in my mindset, and it changed me being the victim of their bullying, because I stood a bit more proud and a little bit more confident in my own shoes. And it did stop. But on the negative side to physical violence is I was then taken from my family home and put into foster care. So I was taken out of my home, put into foster care, because my father was there and he kind of instigated the fight. Okay, so that was seen that, that's not a good parental judgment, and he shouldn't have allowed that, and it shouldn't have happened. So they took me into foster care. At that time, they also looked into other things and investigated other things, and they found out that, yes, my father had been domestically abusing my mother sometimes. And I say sometimes because my father was a really proud. I'm very humbled by him. He had a presence. He was very much like me. But he did find drugs at some point in his life. And at those points in his life, that's when he became violent. And I've seen that time and time again. Even my ex-partner, he was a great guy, but then when he would use drugs, it's like they're not in their right mind and they're not a great guy anymore. But that's periods of their life. So I really speak of my father really quite highly, with a lot of respect, even though I did witness domestic violence within my home. And I guess that's a different mindset in itself, because a lot of people that see their father or mother in domestic violence situations lose respect for that parent. Well, I really don't. I really haven't, because I knew the why behind it. I had seen him without the drug abuse. So the bullying was sort of sorted out because I managed to stand up for myself and be confident in my own shoes. And my dad gave me the courage to do that, and he gave me the confidence to do that. Was it the right thing to do? Probably not, because we don't endorse violence, and like I said, I don't do that with my children. And there was a negative response to that. But everything is a learning curve. Everything, even me going to foster care, was a learning curve for me and my family. So it is what it is.
How long were you in that foster care?
Not long. Something like 10 weeks.
Okay. So
yeah.
What did living out of your family, being in the foster care, taught you there?
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. If anything, and I don't know what, for me and my experiences, and I can only speak from those, going to foster care was much worse than being at home. Like, I was put into a foster care family where there were 5 other foster kids that were teenagers, and they were all, and one woman, and everyone was smoking drugs every night. No one was forced to go to school. There wasn't a family meal to sit down with every night. These are all things that I had at home. I had my mum, the good Italian mum, preparing every meal of every day, coming home to family dinner. Everyone sat down at the table together, me, my dad, my brothers. We had so much structure. There was no drugs that I was aware of. I was 15 at that time. I wasn't aware if my dad was on drugs or not at that time. I was very naive, like most, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. And for me, that was just like a slap in the face. I'm like, why have I been taken from my happy home into this disaster because I had a fight with a girl, you know what I mean, and stood up for myself. So that was really, it was really tough. But obviously I got to go home. And like I said, I can only speak from my personal experiences. I'm sure there are other kids that their foster family and their foster is a lot better than their life at home, and I'm sure of that. But for me, it wasn't the case. It certainly wasn't. And I was very grateful to go home.
Of course. Of course. So after you went home, and when did you start dating, and what happened after you met somebody in your life?
So I had a very good husband. We met at a young age, and we were married for a long time, and together for a long time, 16 years to be precise. And he was a great guy. Our marriage ended for other personal reasons. people grow apart and stuff like that.
Mm.
But after that, my ex-husband, I did meet a man, and he was using drugs, which again, being naive, I wasn't aware. I thought he just matched my capacity of energy and psychoness naturally, like me. But little did I know that it was actually drugs that would get him those adrenaline like I would have. Um, and then at that point, he was violent with me, and he would, grab me from my neck and pin me up against the wall and stuff. And um, he punched me several times. But his comments to that was, "Oh, but you're a boxer. I thought you'd be able to handle it." And I'm just like, "Well, I'm a boxer and I'm a fighter in the ring. I don't expect to box and fight in my relationship.
Yeah.
That's my job, that's my sport, that's my passion. I don't want that from a partner." So that was his sort of, "Oh, I thought you could handle it." And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to handle it from my relationship partner. And yeah, the relationship ended. And it was not a nice ending, like my ex-husband. It was not a nice ending, but I did have the strength to end it and to say, you know what, I'm more than this. I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to allow my daughters, because I only had daughters at that time, I'm not going to allow my daughters to see this happening and let them know that this is okay to live like that. And I guess that was one of the main things. There are probably a few things that got me out of there when it did. One was thinking of my daughters and the kind of life I want them to lead. Number two were my clients, because I was already owning a boxing gym, mainly women. And I didn't want to lie to them. I didn't want to go to work with a black eye and say, "Oh yeah, that was from sparring." I had done that once and I didn't want to do it again. So I didn't want to lie to my ladies, because I call them my ladies, because we're a very small community. And number three, I didn't want that for me. I knew I was worth more. I'm like, no way am I staying here. You know what I mean? I'm worth so much more than that, and I've been through so much, and I've still got so much more to go through that life's going to give me, and these are my choices.
Yes.
And I choose not to be the victim anymore. I choose not to be the victim of anyone. That was taken from me, and I always go back to this, even though I say it doesn't affect me, but it does. That choice was taken from me when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, when I was young. That choice was taken from me then. That power was taken from me. Never again, from the age of 13, when I started getting bullied, was I going to allow someone to take my power and take my freedom and take my choices.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
When did you start boxing in your life, and what kind of a path or like confidence that it has given to you to stand up for yourself?
Oh, massively. And that's why I teach a fighter's mindset now, and I coach women in mindset and that headspace you need to be in to be a fighter, but also the physical side of boxing too. So not only let's talk about your head, but let's get physically in shape and physically strong, so that way we feel confident. And we walk with our chest proud, and when we walk with our chest proud, well, we're less likely to be a victim. You know what I mean?
So when did you start getting into boxing? What age
So
were you?
I was much older. I was 28-ish. I want to say 28-ish. And I started because I had two daughters with my ex-husband, and I was overweight and I wanted to lose weight. So I went to a mainstream gym. And when I say a mainstream gym, just like a gym, and they run some classes. And some of them, they got bike classes and this class and that class. And they had a boxing class. And so I went there, and it was just like a boxercise where you kind of box and you run and you punch sideways and you punch sideways. And it was more almost dancing and boxing put together. Anyway, I started doing that, and I did enjoy it, and it was fun. But I found quite quickly that I wanted to punch hard, and it wasn't really that kind of scenario.
Mm.
So after a very short amount of time, I went home and I said to my brother, and one of my brothers was boxing at the time, fighting. I said, "Oh, I started boxing at this gym," and I was all excited. And he just had a bit of a chuckle, a bit of a giggle. He's like, "That's not boxing." I'm like, "Yes, it is." And I got all fired up and defensive. And he goes, "That's not boxing." He goes, "You want to learn to box? Come with me to my gym. It's a
Mm.
fighting gym." So I went there with him and I put gloves on and I did a couple of rounds in the ring with his coach. And after just a couple of rounds, his coach came and put his arm around my neck and got me in close. And he goes, "You know what, Mim?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're really good." He goes, "I think you might be better than your brother."
Mm.
And now I don't know if he was bluffing me just to give me a bit of a confidence boost or whatever. But you know what? The one person that I say has influenced my life the most is that coach, which none of us know even where he is anymore. So he's not in my
Uh,
life, definitely anymore. That specific coach, but he has made the biggest impact in my life because he believed in me. Those
mm.
simple words, "Hey Mim, you're really good at this," was enough for me. Whether they were true or not, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
but they were enough for me to go, "Oh, I'm good at something. Someone thinks I'm good at something." And it gave me that little confidence kick that my
Yeah.
dad gave me 15 years before or something. And
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh, maybe." And it just lit a flame inside me. And then I started training, like real training, not
Mm.
boxercise, like headgear on, sparring, mouth guard, blood noses,
Mm.
hitting the bag as hard as I could, that kind of training. And with that, of course, there were elements of fear. And one of my core values is fearlessness. And I
Mm.
value fearlessness because if you can conquer your fear or
Mm.
manage to hit your fear head on or do something, even though you're scared, you're going to grow from that.
Um,
And that's what I did every time. I walked into a boxing gym. There were all men there predominantly. I was scared. I was scared. I don't know. You're not going to die, obviously, when you're boxing, but I was scared. I might get my nose broken. I might look like an idiot. I might not be prepared enough. I might not win. You have all these fears, but I
yeah.
did it. And I kept doing it. And I kept doing it. And I kept getting better. And that growth mindset, I
Yeah.
do it. I'm scared. I do it. I got better. I
Yes.
did it. I was scared. I got better. And it just kept going. And then I applied that to my business model. And I applied that to my finance model. And I applied that to every element of my life. And it gets me
Awesome.
to where I am today. And it
Awesome.
gets me and I think I'm successful. I've been a single mother of three for a period, periods of my life. I've owned a business since the age of 20. I've not worked for someone since the age of 24 or 23. And it's that fighter's mindset that I can really say that just kept me going. Like it really built character. It
Mm.
built character.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then I learned also how to use the trauma, the shit that happened to me. I use that as fuel. It's like I wasn't afraid to be angry. It's like I'm angry.
Yes.
Oh, I'm angry. But what do I do with that anger? I can either sit in it and be angry and depressed and anxious and feel sorry for myself and feel like the victim, or I can be angry and own that anger. I'm angry. I'm pissed off. I'm wild. Watch out, world. I'm coming for you. Watch out, life. I'm coming for you. And that's what I did. I applied that frustration, anger, that burn, and I applied it. And
Mm.
that's what I teach now. I teach women how to apply that anger, that frustration, that trauma. How do I use that trauma as fuel to really be successful? Whatever successful means to them. Some people don't want to box. Some
Yes.
women don't want to fight.
Sure.
But learning boxing doesn't mean you have to fight.
Yes.
It just gives you that oomph. It gives you that confidence. It gives you that not victim mentality.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So how often do you take people like that? I mean, how do people
So,
reach out to you?
okay. So I only take groups of women, and I've got enrollments 4 times a year. I should have one coming up at the end of the year, and I work with that group of women closely for
Mm.
8 weeks. And
Mm.
I mean, just talking every day, training at least 3 days a week, but talking every day. And what we do is mindset coaching for 2 weeks, intense for the first 2 weeks where we coach every day.
Mm.
Then after that, we talk nutrition and how to fuel our body for success, fuel our body for exercise, fuel our body to feel strong, fuel our body so we are confident.
Mm.
And then at that point, we apply boxing, the physical side of it, the training. Okay, how do we box? What does it mean? What is a jab? What is a cross? What do we do with our hands? Why do we do that with our hands? How do we move our body? We talk about perspective, because perspective in life and in boxing is very similar. Okay, if I'm standing front on to a certain scenario or difficult situation, I can only see that situation. But if I step this way, or if I step that way, my perspective has now changed. My angle in boxing has now changed. I have now new openings for me to pursue. So it's very much in line with how I would fight, in how I live my life and how I apply the course with the girls. And like I said, they're my ladies, because everyone that ends up coming to me, I end up getting very attached to, because we share our trauma.
Yes.
And in that first 2 weeks, we share our trauma. And when you share your trauma and you're very transparent and very open and very honest and very, you can't help but make connections. And then once those connections are formed, they trust me, I trust them, and it works.
Yep.
And yeah, as I said, I take those ladies on maybe 4 times a year. And then, yeah, that's it, sort of thing. I don't really do personal training sessions. I don't do, I'm not that person. People, I've done that before. I've been in the industry a long time. I've had women and men come to me and say, I want to lose weight, and I'll train them, but they lose their focus because their mindset's not in the right state. I haven't got them in that right headspace. So they'll come to me for 2 months, they'll lose the weight, they'll go off because they think, oh, great, I've lost the weight. They'll go back to their normal ways. They'll put it all back on. They'll come back to me in 6 months' time. I was done with that kind of stuff. I really wanted to make an impact in women's lives. I really wanted to see them change. Like, I wanted to see a lifestyle change. I wanted them not to have these things. Okay, I'm feeling good about myself because I've lost weight. What does that mean? Why? Why can't you feel good about yourself all the time?
Yep.
I want a more steady. I want you to be content, proud, and feel successful in your life every day, not just sometimes. So I stopped promoting myself as a personal trainer. I stopped promoting myself as a boxing coach only. And now I call it the equation. I do all 3. We talk about your mindset, then we talk about your health as far as nutrition goes, and then I'm going to teach you to fight. Whether you step into the ring or not does not matter. I teach you to fight.
That's nice. That's awesome. So when you were training, when you are getting trained, or like when you are training somebody, was there any moment that comes back to you, like flashes, like a PTSD kind of a moment? Were there's any moment like that? And what do you exactly do to come out?
No. My answer is no, not anymore. At some points, and I don't say flashback moments, but there are definitely times in the past, and even now. My father passed away only 13 months ago, and that was so difficult for me because he was so close to me. And like I said before, we're very similar people. The apple does not fall far from the tree. And there are definitely moments where you are sad, and that is just another emotion. Anger is just an emotion. It's being able to recognize it, acknowledge it, own it, and do something with it. There are so many times I'm here in the gym and I'm skipping, and I've got my Rocky theme music on, or whatever music I've got on in my headphones, and I'm skipping. I've got tears pouring down my face from whatever I'm thinking at that moment, or whatever moment I'm reliving. But I'm doing something with it. I'm either hitting a bag, or I'm skipping, or I'm lifting weights, or I'm helping someone else. I'm not scared of my emotions. I'm not scared of them. They're there for a reason. I acknowledge it and I own it and I do something with it. And for that PTSD, sometimes I think, oh, have I suffered from that? I'm like, well, if I have, I don't know I have, because I've always done something with it. It's that fighter's mindset again. Okay, shit has happened to me, but I'm not that victim. I'm not going to allow that victim mentality to creep in. I'm going to do something. And I don't care if I'm sad while I'm doing it. I can accept that. I can accept crying. I can accept being angry. I can even accept wanting to break things, because you're angry and frustrated. Accept it, own it, and then do something with it. Don't sit in your own mess.
Yep. Yep, that's so true. So when you are coaching somebody, or even if you wanted to tell to the audience, like, what are the core values or the thought process that you need to actually change when you wanted to have the change in your life?
When people want to have a change in their life and they finally do seek me out, they're at that point. I often say people and ladies, I'll go ladies because I deal with ladies now. Ladies that seek me out are ready for change. They're not the ladies that are umming and ahhing still. They might be in a domestic violence relationship. They might be having issues and they're continually going through their trauma, but they're still one step behind. I'm
Hmm.
here for the ladies who've experienced and they're like, right, I am sick of this. I'm ready. I want to take it to that next level. I want more out of life, not more money. I want more. I want more. I want more things. I want more experiences. I want more excitement. I want more. I just want more. They're the ladies I deal with. So I take them from that point where they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to move forward. I know I want to. I just don't know how.
Hmm.
They're the ladies that I work with, and I get them over that line, and get them really inspired and excited and really proud of themselves.
Hmm.
I've got one client who has been a drug addict for 20 years, and she's come on board about 3 months ago.
Hmm.
Actually, she's just done her 100 days clean, and she was ready. And this is the thing: people will seek me out when they're ready. I'm a big believer that the teacher will appear when you're ready to learn.
Yep.
So when you are ready, the right person will cross your path. I
Yes.
might be that person, I might not, but that teacher will appear
There. Yep.
when
Yep.
it's time.
Yep. Agreed.
And
So,
like it's happened to me many times in my life too. I might be going through a really difficult situation. That coach one time said that, my dad another time. I've changed another boxing coach. That person will appear when the time is there.
yep. Yep. That's so true. So if you have to tell the audience, like, what needs to be changed at the very beginning stages of your life, if you want to change, what that one thing that you can suggest?
So if you want to change,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the first thing you need to do is find the right person.
Hmm.
Research,
Hmm.
research, listen to people's stories, follow them, talk to them. Don't just commit and go, oh, that sounds like a cheap deal. That deal sounds good. They sound like a good coach because of the money or whatever, right? Really look into that person, see if there's a connection. Because if there is a connection, that person will guide you successfully. If there is no connection, forget about it. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
Amazing.
So I say to people, and I often say to people, even when they invite me to do podcasts or something, I say, well, go to my website. And I tell them my website. I said, go there, look at my story and see if I'm the right person for what you're looking for. And I
Yes.
say that to clients before they go, oh, I want to sign up. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're not signed up for anything yet. Go look if I'm the right person for you. See
Hmm.
if you have a connection with me. If
Awesome.
you find something about me that you can connect with, well, then I'm the coach for you. If not, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. There is someone out there, but it's someone else.
Amazing. I love that. I love the way you're telling that. Like, I have heard coaches, a lot of people, I mean, getting into this podcast, I've been interviewing with a lot of people. It's
Yeah,
not like I select every one of them, as you just mentioned.
yeah,
It's not like I'm getting connected with every one of them, but there are very, very little people, I mean, very few of them who actually like talk the way you are explaining. Like, there will be somebody out there to help you. That might be me or someone else. So first
yeah.
look into them and see the connection and then come back. That is really, really amazing the way you're explaining that.
That's what I always say because I don't do this for the money. I don't do boxing for the money. I
Yes.
never have done boxing for the money. I do boxing because it's my passion. I do boxing because it saves me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
That's amazing. That's amazing
hmm,
to hear you saying that.
yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
no worries. You made me cheer up. See, I'm meant to be a tough guy.
You are really amazing. I mean, as I just mentioned, I've been talking. I think I've spoke almost like around 60 or 70 people who
Yep,
actually talk about like they are coaching everywhere and they are talking about everything. And at the end of it, everybody starts talking about their programs and things like that. I have heard very few saying like, yes, this is my passion. Here I'm here to help other people is very, very less. And I really, really like, I don't know, I'm trying to collect the words to even say like,
Yeah.
it's so great to meet you like this and
Like I said,
your story.
I have this effect on people because I do connect with people, and I won't take anybody on. I really am true to who I connect with, and I allow them in. And when they are in, they have all of me. So that's why I'm careful with who I select. And that is how I stay true to my core values. That's how I feel successful, and that's how I want my kids to grow up. Be passionate. Like I said, if there is anyone out there that has been listening to this podcast, any women who do feel that connection with me, then I say go to my website. Like I say to everybody, go to my website, www.mimparisi.com. Look at my videos, research me, look more into it. If you think that there's a connection there, then contact me. I'm happy to talk. I'm really happy to talk. Thank you very much. It's been a great opportunity. Like I said, I don't usually tear up, but I try and be the fighter and always be strong and stuff. But everyone says this. They're like, Mim, you're such a tough badass on the outside, but deep down you are very passionate and true.
Okay, thank you for tuning in, and you can find me on all the socials at Smitha and the show notes for any resources mentioned. See you next week. Take care.